we fought him multiple times in year one in trials and Crucible and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we fought him, we'd go into the stream afterwards. We'd say, "Hey, good game." He'd say, "Yeah, good game, Chimmy, dude. You were really good. That Greg guy really sucked, though." On stream for everybody. No, just said it. That Greg guy really sucked. He's not a good player. Just flat out said it.
Wait,
and I was like, Poshy. Just on stream. Just every time I would ever fight him would say, that Greg guy sucks. No, like literally said, he's not a good player. I don't know why he's trying to play trials. He should uninstall the game.
You know,
like legit meant it.
My favorite thing about Poshy, he's a great judge of character.
You always wondered why I hate you?
Not often, but I'm sure you're about to tell me why.
Do you want to know why?
Oh, nothing would tantalize me more than knowing why.
Are we gonna start though?
Shut up,
before
Greg.
we do anything, I want to hear Groot
All right.
tell me why he hates me.
You know, sometimes, just sometimes, you just go and there's more and there's more and there's even more. And I don't like more. I like less. So why can't you just give me less?
Oh, God.
Because I don't believe in the value of compromise, which is why I am, as of yet, unmarried. Because compromise, sir, is the fodder of infidels. Compromise is what people who are
there's no
unaccustomed to
compromising.
victory do.
There's no compromising what you already have.
Are you about to tell me what I have?
All
I'm
of
sensing a
me,
bombshell.
all of me loves all of you.
Oh, God.
Okay, please Google search the definition of mixed signals.
Oh, God.
The only signals I'm sending at you.
I'm already going to say
Alright,
this is gonna be
alright,
a great
alright.
podcast. I can tell this.
This is quickly going awry. Groot is giving me a big smile, lots of eyebrow raises simultaneously. I don't think he's able to raise. Can you wink? Can you control? Marshall from How I Met Your Mother who can't wink?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Groot has thus been dubbed Marshall. Marshall Erickson, Judge Fudge, he who cannot wink.
I'm okay with that, sir.
All right. Well, on that bombshell, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 24th episode of the Super Fun Podcast. So we're going to talk about some fun stuff today. There's some new stuff coming out with Destiny. There's some old stuff coming out with Bungie that we have just recently found that is true. And I say that because there's been lots of speculation about Bungie's organization and why. I don't know if you guys know this, if you're listening to this, but there's been some controversy with Destiny and with Bungie and with their production process and why year one looks radically different from year two, why vanilla Destiny looks radically different from our expectations. We definitely learned some stuff. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to have some conversation about gaming as a whole. But let's jump into it. So we found out a little bit about Archon's Forge. Let's start there. You guys seen that video clip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened? What was it?
Well, it's
Waves.
like a mix of Well, you want to say it, Groot?
No, go ahead.
All right. It's a mix of Prison of Elders and Court of Orcs, basically. You find these what are they called? Siva
Clusters.
Somebody help me out. I don't remember. Siva clusters, and you go and you to the Archon's Forge in the Devil Splasher's Fortress in the Plague Lands, and you offer it up as a.
Use your words. English, thoughts, words. Greg is currently sneezing and or coughing, and he muted himself graciously. Continue, Greg.
Any second, Greg.
Wonderful.
Are you dying? Okay. Okay.
Right, sorry.
There you go, senor.
This is a really awkward start. I'm super sorry. I just had to cough. I'm sorry. So you're
Welcome
gonna
to my
offer these
world.
up as offerings as a sort of like ritualistic offer to, I guess, Siva or something, and you're gonna initiate this 5-minute, I guess, combat scenario activity inside the Archon's Forge. Basically, lots and lots of ads are gonna spawn. You're gonna fight them for 5 minutes. Bosses are gonna come out. Seriously, it's gonna be a chaotic thing. You gotta just kill for 5 minutes straight until they're all dead. And if they're not all dead by the time the 5 minutes are done, well, you don't get anything. But if you do win, you get Archon's Forge gear set pieces, basically. I believe it's armor. I'm not sure if there are weapons for it. There might be, but I believe it's just armor. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. But if you die in the middle, you're going to go to the spectators arena that's sort of above the map, and you're going to be able to watch your teammates fight the masses of enemies. And it should be pretty cool. And yeah, that's sort of a gist of it, basically.
So it's kind of a mix of Horde and Court of Orcs in its own way.
Yeah, when I watched the video, I got a definite feel that it was sort of like a Horde mode. Definitely has that feel. It's just a lot of enemies, chaotic.
It's going to be
and
definitely
really
intense, that's for
excited.
sure. Might be the most paced activity we've had yet.
It's been confirmed that it will be recommended light level 380. So it'll be just under the raid, I believe, because the raid will be like 385. So it's actually going to be a challenging activity. It's not going to be easy. They're going to be high. They're going to be decently high light level. And like my plan was to go in and play it and level up really quick, but I can't do that if it's light level 380. So I'm gonna have to find a different way to get up to 380 before I do that. So
note to self: butt clenching will commence.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. So yeah.
Me too. I always love
anything to say about it.
1 AP.
No, you go ahead.
I see. I love how they actually balanced out the PvE and the PvP additions to this DLC, because quite honestly, or expansion, whatever you want to call it. And the reason I say that, because it's most of the expansions that we've had so far are either PvP, more focused on PvP, or more focused on PvE. Usually more PvE than PvP. But this one, they've done a really good job with the introduction of private matches, the new raid, Archon's Forge, and just all the new stuff that they're doing really balances out for the two sides of the community for Destiny, which is really nice.
Well, oh man, you kind of just took us off to a rabbit trail that I really want to pursue. I'm
right ahead, sir.
I'm going to comment briefly on that, and that's that
okay.
It's not super intense in PvP. It's mostly PvE, with the exception that the one main thing they introduced with PvP is the private matches. Yes, and it's not like a large lump sum piece of content, but what it is it's like the ability for users to create content and to create fun, to create events, and that's absolutely massive. And the community.
That's not really the only thing they've introduced, though, for PvP.
No,
and
they've
basically their new game mode also.
Yeah,
and the new
game mode.
Yeah,
the new
it's
Rise
like,
of Iron stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Let me
what is it
clarify
called?
what I mean.
I don't remember what's it called.
Technically 3 different variations of the new game mode, Supremacy. So.
Let me clarify what I mean.
Supremacy.
With the House of Wolves, they introduced the Trials of Osiris, which revolutionized Destiny. I mean, more so than anything else in terms of creating a longevity for the game and creating something that the fan base would be entertained with. Like the raid, there are people who've been playing the raid over and over and over and over and over again for weeks and weeks and weeks. But the truth is, in terms of keeping people's interest in a sustainable, constantly changing environment, PvP is the only thing that is never the same thing twice. You can get close if you have a lot of Striker Titans running Universal Remote and Longbow. That, you can run into those teams, but even then they play a little bit differently. It's the only unique experience in Destiny. And the Trials of Osiris created a high-stakes environment for that. That was the biggest PvP addition since vanilla. And this is the next biggest thing, and I would argue it's even bigger. It's not as competitive, but it's something that creates infinite possibilities for creativity within the community. And my God, I cannot wait for it.
I'm way too hyped for private matches.
I mean, I was going to bring it back to what we were talking about before, but first, do you guys want to say anything about that?
I mean, what else is there to say? It's freaking private games, dude.
We've talked about this a lot. I think we've said everything.
Games, so yeah.
That's true.
I mean, it's borderline custom games. You can customize a lot about it, like about the actual like game. But
I honestly hope they offer in the future more customization options, which I think they might introduce more in between now or in between Rise of Iron and Destiny 2. But if not, then they'll probably add more with Destiny 2. But there's the Archon's Forge, and there's a lot more to talk about here. And so Greg gave us a good kind of rundown of what the event is like. And by the way, we got that from the Bungie stream where they revealed. Was it a Bungie stream, or was that
no? It was a Game
party?
Informer's little hour-long, basically
podcast type deal that they had
it
going
was more
on.
of a mini podcast because normally their podcasts are like 2.5 hours long, so it was more of a mini one for them.
Yeah.
So through that, we learned, like, we actually got to see some of the aesthetics. We got to see them do bits and pieces of the round. We got to see their, albeit kind of terrible.
Oh, no, that was a
PvE
10-minute
skills.
video. I thought you were talking about the other thing.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
I'm talking strictly about the video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can talk about the video.
It definitely had like a Horde, or a Prison of Elders type feel to it as well.
Well, I mean, it feels like the Prison of Elders.
Yeah.
Because it's the same architecture. They actually said it's going to tie into the lore because they're similar architecture because they're both built technically with Fallen design.
Yeah.
So it's going to have the similar architecture, and that's why they're similar because based on the lore that's why it looks like it does.
Yeah.
So they explained that's why.
So let's talk mechanics. So one thing that really stood out to me here is you've got the battlefield where there's the typical, you've got the open floor design, you got 3 spawn points. I don't know if those are spawn points for ads or for potential bosses or what, but you got the 3 little domes.
The big dome?
Yeah. The Fallen.
I'm assuming boss.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Well, I would.
Oh, no,
it looks
no,
like
no,
more
no.
than one boss can spawn at a time.
So there were these objects that were spawning within them that the players were shooting at. Maybe bosses will spawn out of there. I don't know. The boss has to come from somewhere because you have to kill enough ads in 5 minutes to spawn a boss, so that's something. But so there's 3 things that I find interesting about this. Number 1 is whatever those objects are, they obviously have some relevance because they're relatively easy to destroy based on what I saw as they played. But the fact that they were focusing on them tells me that mechanically there's something about them that you want to get rid of them as quickly as possible.
They look like giant sources of like Siva, like power sources of Siva in a way, like big clumps of Siva.
Which we don't really know what Siva actually does. We know obviously the Fallen are utilizing it to splice themselves and to hybridize themselves. We do know
that Siva was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the technology that was used to build a lot of the infrastructure of the Golden Age. They used that technology, if I'm not mistaken. The Siva technology was part of it, if I'm not mistaken. In one of the videos, they were talking about how Siva was the technology used in the Golden Age to build a bunch of the bases, I guess, human cities and stuff on other planets. They use Siva, and then it turned bad, if I'm not mistaken.
If I can say, well, from what I got out of it, Fallen foot soldiers. So the Archon's Forge is kind of like off of the Fallen system. I believe a Fallen soldier, in order to prove their worth to their house, they actually have to find a piece of Siva technology and then offer it up to the Archon's Forge to to basically fight and stand for it.
Yeah.
So, when you get into there, you're finding these Siva pieces all over the place, and basically you're kind of just like, you're stepping into their dojo and stepping into their ritual and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, and I guess those clumps of Siva could just be the collection of all those Siva things that they brought in. Yeah. When I was talking about, I thought you were actually asking what Siva was used for. So sorry that I went off on that.
So that's actually pretty interesting.
AP.
I'm really curious to find, because the way they were describing it from a lore perspective was exactly what Groot mentioned. The fact that we got the Fallen, basically the way that they do things. It's almost like, have you guys seen the Chronicles of Riddick?
No.
Kind of.
Oh my god, I hate you guys so much.
Hey! I was planning to watch those next month, so don't hate me for so long.
Mikey, save me. Have you seen Chronicles of Riddick?
Oh god.
You're killing me, guys. All right, the point is,
nobody watches the latest stuff that you watch.
All right, listen.
Ooh.
All right, so anyone listening to this who has seen, in particular, the chronologically the final movie in the Riddick series, ultimately, when they go up against the necromongers, you keep what you kill. So the whole thing about the system is it's almost like the lore of the Hive, the Ascendant Hive. Like, those who are the most powerful should compete for rulership. And if you're not the most powerful, somebody else can challenge you. And if they prove to be more powerful, you don't deserve that position. It's kind of similar, not identical, but similar in Fallen culture, where it's like, especially for lower level Fallen, like dregs who don't even have their 4 arms, it's like you're trying to compete to show your power and to show your worth so that you can rise up in the ranks and become, I guess the ultimate the ultimate goal is to become a Kel. So in the Archon's Forge, what's really interesting is we're entering into the Fallen philosophy, and we're entering into one of their rituals where they're competing to rise up in the ranks. And when they were describing it, it's almost like we're jumping in and we're becoming one of them. So there was this weird dichotomy where we're entering into the Fallen's, like, the thing that they're doing to prove themselves, and we're almost becoming one of them, but at the same time we're different and we're disrupting it. And I'm trying to figure out, because the Planet Destiny crew has speculated about, like, if we were going to have a 4th class entered into the archive, maybe it would be like, hey, the 4th, you got Titan, Hunter, Warlock, and a Fallen Captain. And that's something that we could play as. So we're entering in, but at the same time, you got these Siva clusters, but we're destroying them. So there's this, I'm trying to figure out, and if you guys have any thoughts on it, like we're joining into their ritual, and we're acting as though we're Fallen in the way that we're behaving, trying to compete to become superior and rise up in the ranks. But at the same time, we're destroying the Siva, and we're being different. We're not the same. Where's the balance?
Here's the thing, though, is we have to think is we're not walking in with Siva pieces unless, we count the stuff that we've already gotten from this if we've already completed it before. But your first time around, you have to think of it this way. You're not bringing in any Siva pieces to prove yourself or your worth to the house. You're coming in to kick ass. That's what it boils down to. Can I see this being a cross as an introduction to a newer class in the future? Absolutely. But I don't think this is the way they want to do it, just because of the simple fact of going in and competing in this thing. It means you need to bring some kind of piece of Siva technology to offer up as a ritual. And the fact that we're going in there to stomp down their ritual, to basically end it and prove that we're here, we're the ones that are basically taking over here, there's got to be more behind it. And I don't think with the lore that we have right now behind this is enough to determine that, quite honestly.
Well, here's the problem. They already mentioned that there's going to be some kind of a currency that we have to offer up to enter into this public activity. And the term that's been thrown around is Siva clusters. It is possible that in the Plague Lands you find, much like Wormspore on the Dreadnought, Spin Metal on Earth, etc., that we find Siva clusters and use those to offer up to enter into the Archon's Forge.
Well, that could definitely be a link then. I did not know of that, so I could possibly take... I'm still speculating, but maybe I'll take back eventually what I said.
Yeah, I'm not holding you to anything, man.
No, yeah.
We're all speculating a bit.
I don't see it coming in. I don't see us a 4th class coming out of it, like, to be honest, but I can see where you're coming from, so...
Well, I wasn't trying to say that they're setting up the 4th class. I was more referencing the fact that when they were talking about the Archon's Forge in that video, I got the sense that, like, they mentioned that we were entering into the, basically the rituals and the competitions of the Fallen, and we're kind of entering into their culture. And it didn't feel like we were invading, like we were this outside force jumping in and just throwing a wrench into the cogs. It felt more like we were becoming a part of it. But that kind of conflicts with us being guardians and us wrecking shop and destroying the Siva clusters. And I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the balance is between us participating and us demolishing. You know what I mean?
Well, we have to take a look at it too. Is we're not just fighting the Siva and Archon's Forge too. We're fighting them in the raid and various other activities too. So we have to find the balance of, are we trying to ally them or are we trying to destroy them? Is there good Siva? Is there bad Siva? Are they divided or are they one? Are there different higher? I know they're obviously one, but are there different hierarchies of the SIVA? Or there,
The way that I was understanding it from a lore perspective is SIVA it's basically just technology, and it's basically whoever's using it determines what it's used for, is how I got it.
Okay.
And so it kind of was a little confusing, because that would have to mean when the Iron Lords were originally combating it, somebody was using it for a bad purpose. But we don't know anything about that really that much. So, but right now it's basically because, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, SIVA was used to create infrastructure of the Golden Age and all that stuff, and the buildings, and help speed that process along. And so, but now it's being used for obviously construction purposes, and getting the devils, turning them into splicers, getting them more technologically advanced and stuff. And also, they used it to help build their fortress, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So it depends who's using it. If it's good or bad is how I get it's basically technology. And if you're bad, it's going to be used for bad. And if you're good, you're going to use it for good, is how I got the feel from it.
I meant to phrase that as the people using the SIVA technology. I didn't mean to make it phrase the SIVA were people. Yeah, no, that's my B. I meant to say the devil splicers. There's
this
good.
Point?
Yeah. So my apologies about that. I probably should have clarified that.
Yeah, you should know. I mean, I'm apparently by now I'm gonna go off on a tangent if I
save it, Greg. Save it. Don't speak.
Something.
Gosh,
Sorry.
Greg, just stop, okay? I'm sick of you. Just stop it.
Stop
I'm so
it.
turned on right now.
Oh God.
Stop it real good.
No. All right, so Archon's Forge, it looks pretty sweet. Oh, there's one more thing actually I wanted to mention on Archon's Forge.
Yeah, there were a couple things I wanted to mention too. Jeez, thanks for trying to skip me out of this. I know I haven't talked too much, but gosh, I do have some stuff to say.
Meanwhile, AP is thinking, God, do you ever shut up?
Seriously.
Wow.
Shots fired!
A few mechanics I just want to add, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. Bring them on.
All right, well, it's a couple new additions to stuff. If you die and respawn, you're kicked out to the entrance, which means that it's locked and somebody else has to actually revive you, or a helpful stranger. What is it, outside or inside of the forge?
You're in a spectator or area above the arena, I guess towards in the ceiling. Sort of like a VIP box in a football stadium, if you know what I'm saying. Except it's lasers keeping you in, you can't get out. But it appears you can still shoot down and help your teammates from there. So I don't know.
And the last thing I wanted
looks interesting.
And the last thing I wanted to add is it's a public space, so random guardians can team up, kind of like the Court of Oryx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But also, what if there's randoms there, but you want to bring your friends in and say they're under-leveled, and then you can't bring in your high-level friends, and they're holding you back, maybe. I can see a potential problem there. With it being a higher-level activity, such as it's 380 light, and there's going to be randoms there, so I can see some potential issues, just for me.
Okay,
but,
worst-case scenario, the lower light guardians get murked immediately, and then all they're doing is they're camping out in that upper room
True.
with lasers preventing them from moving forward, and they're just they're shooting the roof, and then occasionally they throw a grenade that happens to help you out by killing one of them and see fallen.
I keep
not gonna do much damage, but
so that could be helpful. You are right, sir.
How could they be detrimental, though? Is what I'm saying.
That's you're
no
right.
harm.
I was saying, what if you wanted to bring in your teammates? Is my only point, and then it's full because there's randoms.
It's not like there's a limit, anyways. Or at least I don't believe there is, because Court of Oryx, you could bring as many people onto the server. You could have the whole dreadnought there and be okay.
Well, I was gonna say I don't think actually you could do that. I think there was a limit of.
Oh.
I think you could have maybe.
Limited number of guardians engaged?
In an area. No, I was saying in an area. The most I'd ever seen in an area was 15 or 16 in an area.
That's the thing.
At one point.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's based on the server. So if you fly in with 3 guardians, because I'm assuming that you can only go in with 3, because that's what it's been lately. If they adapt
didn't they change the patrols where you can be 6 people? Sorry, I just thought that I heard somewhere that they were changing that.
People have talked about it. They've never confirmed it. That's not something.
I just thought I heard it somewhere. Sorry.
You've probably heard the conversation. People talked about.
No, I mean I thought I had
heard
that somebody said Bungie confirmed it, but I didn't remember.
If
It'd be nice to play hide and go seek with 6 people on Venus.
I'm gonna look it up right now, but you guys keep going.
Gosh.
So
I just
amazing.
remembered that from somewhere.
yeah. But either way, even if you go in with a fire team of 6, you go down to the Plague Lands and you enter in, you will be on a server by default that has at least 6 slots available, because it won't put you on a server unless there's room for everyone. So anyone else that joins in is 6 plus. It's like there's room for your team because it finds you a server. If nothing else, like the way the system works is if let's just say everything is full. Okay, it's gonna make you a brand new server. I don't know if server's the right term. It's gonna find you a brand new lobby on that planet in that zone where your entire fire team can exist. And
Yeah.
if everything else is full and you create a brand new one, then other people can join in on Earth, and they may stumble into the Plague Lands to where that event is happening. But ultimately, the game doesn't work that way. You'll never be like flying into Earth and then it boots you out and says, "Sorry, it's full."
Yeah, and I actually just looked it up and I was wrong. I got my hopes up for that. Really wanted 6-man patrols.
Let's all take a moment of silence for Greg.
Rip.
Da, 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 da. Is that the silence music?
No, the silence music is silence.
And that brings me to my point. There's never silence when there's Greg. No, I'm kidding.
It's true
Oh
though.
god, it's so true.
True.
I love you, Greg.
OT, bro.
Sometimes. Don't
Greg-
worry, all the time.
Greg, you love everyone sometimes, and then they're not Greg.
Brown.
Groot.
Yeah.
Groot.
By
we
the
talked
way,
about earlier,
I have a little question. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys are a bit more on top of all this info. Obviously, I do work and all that stuff, so I'm not like almost up to date. But there's a light level confirmed for the new update, 400 or
400.
something like that.
400
So-
after hard raid.
Oh, okay.
385. 385 out the gate. Once they launch the hard mode, it's going to be 400.
Okay. Well, I just hope that now I'm happy. I'm not gonna lie. Why? Because I'm part of this awesome community. Because I'm gonna be able to get stuff done. But like I'm still struggling with Oryx, to be honest. I mean, I don't care because I'm mainly like a PvP player, so it's whatever.
I was actually going to be running the raid sometime before the reset with my friend. We have Golgoroth checkpoint, so
Mr.
join in,
Cass,
get your Oryx done.
are you asking us to join you to kill orcs?
I mean, I wouldn't mind, to be honest. Like
Impossible! Denied!
I have. Let's say I have done the raid, but let's say I think the first time I kind of did it was Oryx, then was Archon Priest, then was the Totems, then Golgoroth, and then the beginning of it. So I have
Jeez, you're
not
all over the
basically
place.
done like a clean run, the entire thing. So
Well, Can I coin a
that's
term
what I'm
real
struggling.
quick?
Hmm.
I'm gonna coin a term that we were just using that I've used in the past. Get ready, everybody, because this is gonna be legend. Wait for it.
Shut up. Don't do it.
Say it, AP.
Dare you can't resist!
Yes, it's Impossible Groot.
Impossible. Oh my god.
Impossible Groot. That term is now coined.
You gotta say it like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
out.
like Impossible or whatever, however he does it. Shit, that was
I
a really
can't do this.
That
bad.
is the new term.
I'm out.
Impossible.
been wonderful.
Impossible Groot.
We've done a lot together.
It
It's
rolls
been a
off the
wonderful
tongue, doesn't
ride.
it?
Yeah, Impossible Groot.
It rolls off the tongue.
Into the trash
Like-
can.
You know, AP, I want to bring something up. When we were talking about names, usually it outweighs you and Queen by about 5-2, sometimes 6-2 when it comes to
Literally,
names.
you're commenting on one thing. You're commenting
I
on
don't-
one event.
I do not take your judgment for anything anymore when it comes to names.
Wow, that's a
I will
brilliant piece
have
of
you know.
statistics. You mastered them.
I mean, he
Congratulations.
spelled his own gamer tag wrong.
It is very true. Oh, that is okay, a
How
polyglot.
bad can you be?
Hey, can everyone be silent for a second so I can do this?
I don't know.
I've already told the story. I couldn't have that name if I wanted to, which I did.
We know, but for those that haven't watched, it's like, haha, you don't know how to spell.
Look, guys, I'm feeling a bit oppressed right now. I'm feeling a bit assaulted, and I'm not sure. I think you know what? I'm feeling a bit divided amongst you guys. I don't feel comfortable with you. I think that we need to split this podcast up and divide it amongst multiple teams that do multiple things. Wow, much like Bungie. Some Bungie staff has been divided recently. Should we talk about that?
Hey, just a quick question. Who thinks he should shut up from now on? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Nobody can see you raising your hand.
Come on, Keegan. Come on, Keegan.
Go ahead. You want to do it?
Keegan.
You. There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
You have horrible judgment once more.
See, here's the thing. Nobody can see you raising your hands, which means I can just say nobody raised their hands.
4-9. It's
4-1.
So,
4-9.
So guys,
He didn't raise.
True. Okay.
the Bungie team.
Yeah. You and your stupid puns.
Frick. No, it wasn't even a pun. It was just a seamless transition. I was like, holy crap, he did it.
Thank you. Somebody appreciates.
I still raised my hand, though.
Appreciate it. He didn't say he appreciates it.
I raised my hand, and I'm still against it, though.
All right,
Thank
you can reject it as much as you want. It was terrible and glorious simultaneously. But the point is,
great.
So one thing that we learned recently is that Bungie. Okay, so we have the first year of Destiny. We had Dark Below. We had the House of Wolves, and anyone feel free to correct me on the numbers. I believe they had a team when Destiny launched of around 150, which already was much bigger than the Halo days. Like they grew massively in preparation for Destiny, and after Halo, the team grew. Now, by the time the year 2 entered into, so we had the Taken King, and they had grown in that time from year 1 to year 2 from 150 to about 600.
Yep, that's right.
Now, there's two big things that were roadblocks. Number one is we've heard rumors, and there was, I think, about 6 people who came forward anonymously from Bungie, which we did not know if this was legit or not until recently. But 6 people came forward, and one of the big things we got from those reveals is that their system was fundamentally really difficult to work with. They talked about...
It took forever.
Yeah, they talked about moving a resource node and how it would take several hours to load up the actual, like, I don't even know the terminology, like to load up it was the resource nodes in Patrol, if I'm not mistaken, and it took how much time you just said to move
it took like a war sat
on the map. Yeah, it took them a long time to move that one node on the map to another place on the map. It could be right next to it, and it would take them forever to move it.
Yeah,
is what I got from it.
So
to me, that's bad rendering and bad engines.
Yeah, and that's true. So somebody commented that it took them a long, very long, and oppressively long time to make changes to the game, which, for us as non-game developers sounds ridiculous, and we're thinking, holy crap, fix the engine. Why are you doing that? Well, here's the thing. That's precisely what they're doing. So they got 600 people, and this brings us to the second point. When they went from 150 members to 600 members, they did not adapt well. And this is officially confirmed by Bungie. I wish I actually had the names pulled up to comment on who said this, but we can put the links to the Twitter feeds in the description. But the point is, they confirmed, when they scaled from 150 to 600, they did not adapt well. And they were trying to function the way they did in the past as one cohesive team. But even 150 as a cohesive team is a challenge. But to take that same team and to scale up to 600, that's virtually impossible. And they realized what they had to do. Yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to let people know this is how long they worked on this game until it actually got released. So remember the Destiny symbol that was an Easter egg inside of Halo 3 ODST?
Oh, that was so cool. I love that.
So let's remember that Halo 3 ODST came out on September 22nd of 2009, and Destiny came out on September 9th of 2014.
Yep.
So they have been working on that game for almost 5 years, or at least the idea for a minimum. So imagine the development phases of what they had to do. If what that that rendering is true, if it's been confirmed, imagine how long it took for them just to make the maps.
Oh yeah.
Forever.
I mean, hey, they're dropping old gen, so hopefully, I mean, it's going to be even quicker process now. One would hope.
One would hope. They're still trying to tackle down the whole vault space thing, so we won't see that at launch, but we'll see that later. They said.
Yeah, I was going to say there's going to be an update after launch.
I will say that. Sorry to cut you off, but that's one of the things is actually it's been bothering me because I don't know why Bungie just decided, when people complain about, oh, this weapon is too OP or whatever, they patched it, whatever, or buff weapons, I don't care. But when they see that we actually need more vault space, we're trying to keep obviously some legends, some legends of weapons that we got in year 1, and then progressing in year 2, you got a whole bunch. So I don't know about you guys, but if I have 2 slots empty in my vault space for weapons, I think that's a lot at the moment. So, like, just imagine, like you guys saying when they were developing all this game and the time that it took them, but when the community bitch about a weapon, I mean, why they just like instantly, okay, yeah, you're right. So why they can just like make this game better? I mean, I'm not complaining like a lot, but it kind of bothers me.
I would assume to change a way a weapon works would take far less time than it would to vault space.
Definitely.
But I also will agree that I don't like the fact that vault space was so limited in year 1, because by the time year 2 started, I had scrapped I didn't have any of my year 1 guns left because I ran out of vault space.
Hold on.
I'm really bummed out about it.
Hold on. Did you just say that you think it takes less input time and energy to change the way a weapon works, as you said, than it takes to affect vault space?
Well, actually, I'm gonna back Greg up on this one because vault space has always been an issue for them because of previous gen. Because it's memory leaks. Trying to figure out memory leaks, let me tell you, is not fun. Between cross-platform too for previous gen and new gen, I'm telling you right now, that's not an easy transition trying to figure them out for the 2 games. When it comes to weapon balancing, though, it's okay. Figure out what you think needs to be changed, test it out in a sandbox, make the changes, practice stability, look for bugs, issues, balance against other guns, and So there is a lot entailed in that, but I think when it comes to the coding end of things, you can't really make the argument one's harder than the other or one's easier than the other because they're 2 separate processors and 2 different occurrences.
Yeah, you're right. Here's the thing. Vault space was limited in year 1 because of the previous generation consoles. They managed to find some vault space improvements in spite of the previous generation consoles, and they're now looking at a future solution moving forward. But literally, like, the way they described it is, hey, we found a few free megabytes of processing power, so we're going to give you some more vault space. It was that easy. It was limiting of the hardware that the previous generations had to endure in order to have vault space. For you guys to tell me that is comparable and even easier than taking a weapon and not just tweaking it and modifying it and adjusting its talents, which is one whole segment of it, but then balancing...
You said we. You guys. I wasn't making an argument on either of them.
I heard Greg say that one was easier than the other. I heard you say I'm backing up Greg on this, and then you elaborated on the coding side of it. And then, admittedly, you said something along the lines of, like, yeah, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff here for the weapon balancing. Yeah, but then you kind of glossed it over. The point is, dude, the amount of, like, it takes a lot more work to tweak and modify and balance a weapon in its own class, more so than tweaking, vault space. But then that introduces a whole new level of complexity of not just balancing a weapon within its class, but balancing that weapon within its class, within every other weapon in that category, aka primaries. Let's say the last word. You can't just tweak the last word within hand cannons of a similar fire rate, because
I mean, you could just nerf the range and we'd all be happy with it.
Bro,
it already had its range nerfed.
The point I'm trying to make
it has, but it's not really.
The point I'm trying to make, you can't just tweak one weapon. You have to tweak it within the archetype, and then you can't just tweak that one weapon within the archetype, because they have to take into account every other weapon archetype of that category. And then you can't just take in every other weapon of that category. You have to take in primary versus special versus heavy. You got to find their
AP,
place.
thank you for proving my point, because that's exactly what I said. Just in shorter terms.
I don't feel like
I said you have to test it against other classes, other archetypes.
Yeah, and
you didn't
the only
mention
reason-
that, but in
Yes, I
backing
did.
of Greg's point that it was
Yes, I
easier to balance.
No, I didn't mean to say backing up, Greg. Greg, I hate you. It was meant to say there are
You said
two
you loved me
different
earlier in the
processes. You can't
podcast, so I don't know.
I'm
There's-
sorry that I started all this.
How
I
dare you.
apologize.
I just want to real quickly say why I'm saying this. In terms of the space that's available, it's because they had to find extra space in order to add the vault space. I'm saying in terms of space, they can easily or more easily do it with the weapons, because the weapons are already in the game. They don't have to find more space to tweak them. Is my point. Whereas they have to find more space for the
I
vault.
think we can all blame Greg for the last 3 minutes of the podcast.
Oh,
I'll sum it up. It's the weapon process is more extensive, and then the vault space is a little more difficult to figure out in terms of what needs to be fixed for it.
I agree kind of in the way that you phrased
Shut
the
up,
question.
AK.
All I'm saying is in terms of input time, like with the vault space, it wasn't a matter of man hours. It was a matter of we got this roadblock.
That's what I just said.
We can't move forward until this is taken care of. All right, let's put it on the bench for a while. Whereas with weapon balance, it's a constant input of time and energy.
Weapons more extensive, vault space a little more difficult.
But I don't agree with it being more difficult. It's just a matter of like eradicating a variable.
I wouldn't
You
say
know
it's
what?
more difficult. Okay,
I
I
mean-
wouldn't say it's more difficult. I think it's more or less just
It's itty
More
bitty,
difficult.
eensy weensy, yellow polka dot bikini. It's just it's just a little thing you gotta overcome. It's a little bump in the road.
I
They
would just
solved
say
it in the
that
past.
it's really. We all have our
I hate
opinions
you so
on
much.
it. Thanks to Chaos for bringing up the conversation. That went on a giant rabbit trail. Thanks,
You
man.
know what?
We're
happy.
let's
I
for
like
just
it.
that conversation.
let's forget about it. Let's forget about it.
It's okay. I only want to rip
Another just quick thing that I do want to mention though, that I mean, you know how these weapons sometimes they were like super OP at the beginning, and they buff them, they balance them out supposedly, but sometimes it's just like it doesn't work. To me, it doesn't work. I would like to see if Bungie. I mean, I don't mind the last word. I don't mind the thorn. I really don't. Why they just don't like balance all weapons? Obviously, like you said, different archetypes, whatever, to make them almost to an equal balance. That that you can compete with any type of weapon in the Crucible. That will be like to me like a really really fair battle against another Guardian. You know what I'm saying? So I mean it's hard to ask for that because that's a lot. But I mean, it'll be nice to, let's say I'm going against last word, and I know for a fact that if you don't hit the 3 shots, the crit shots, I mean I'm probably not gonna die, or let's say I have something powerful enough to respond with.
Well, I think if we're really getting into the divisions of Bungie and stuff, and what they were doing versus what they are doing now, I think when they first started, it was trying to balance each weapon against each other, and they had some issues where a lot of them were unbalanced. But I think when you say you need to balance each gun against every gun, I think that's bad, because you can't balance a short range gun against a long range gun. There's got to be some gun that's better than against that type of archetype. There's always got to be something that can outwit it, that can outdo it and stuff. So I really think it's when people talk about balancing all the guns to make them adjustable and fair against other guns that they shouldn't be balanced against, they're not really thinking of the bigger picture. I think it's, yes, you should not be able, somebody who's sniping from 75 yards away should not be able to be taken out by a last word like it was in year 1, for example. Now it's about giving some people the edge with this type of gun up against that gun, but at the same time as balancing short range guns with other short range guns, just with different archetypes of critical versus, what kind of perks they have and stuff, if that makes sense.
Well, here's the thing.
It does.
That's
honestly,
why it's a more extensive process.
The thing is, it's even deeper than that because it boils down to 3 layers of complexity they have to balance all at once. Number 1, you've got time to kill. So if you got a hand cannon, you got a pulse rifle, you got a scout rifle, you got an auto rifle. They want fundamentally all of those time to kills to be roughly the same because it would be stupid if a hand cannon had a faster time to kill than an auto rifle. Why would you ever use an auto rifle when you could use a hand cannon? So they got to balance that. Number 2, they've got to balance exotics because exotics, by their nature, are more powerful or have more exotic perks than their legendary or blue counterparts. So they got to make sure that the entire archetype, like if you have an exotic hand cannon like Thorn that is more powerful than a legendary, it doesn't break the entire class. If you balance it for legendaries and the Thorn is more powerful, it becomes the most OP weapon in the game. They have to balance for that. Yeah, exactly.
Year 1. We can refer all these mistakes to year 1.
I was gonna say, if we're going by that logic, then the exotic shouldn't be like way more powerful. But the problem is, I feel like, for example, it shouldn't be weaker than a legendary. For example, like Thorn is weaker than most legendary hand cannons.
Yeah, look. So the exotic thing, that's something they balance for constantly. But I actually think I said second thing was exotics. I'm going to redact that.
No, I know. That's why I was saying it.
I had 3 main points. Number 1 is time to kill. Number 2 is range. They not only have to balance the time to kill of all these different primaries, they also have to balance the fact that, theoretically, auto rifles should be close to mid-range. Hand cannons should also be close to mid-range, but a bit more emphasis on the mid-range. You got pulse rifles, which are mid to long, and then you got scout rifles that are mid to long, but an emphasis on the long. So the time to kill has to stay relatively consistent, but also it has to be along these different ranges that these weapons are supposed to be useful. And they even have their own archetypes. You got fast firing, mid firing, slow firing. That's complicated. And then, so those are the first 2 layers. And I literally just lost my train of thought. It's gone. What was the third one? Guys, somebody do a dance. Do something quick.
Damage drop rate. Well, not drop rate, but damage drop per range. No. I don't know. Stability.
No, where was it?
I hate you.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm hating myself right now, dude. I literally, while you guys were talking, I had these 3 points in my head, and I literally just lost the third one.
You don't hate
you mentioned them.
You don't hate yourself more than I hate you.
No, there's literally one more. There's one more that's important.
Oh, okay.
So you got the time to kill.
Crit damage.
You got the range. Oh my god. I'm so angry at myself. What was it? Seriously, I had this whole argument built up in my head. There was this one last thing, and it's
Perks.
gone.
Time to kill.
No.
Of range.
Yes.
And
rate of
I don't know
fire.
what the other one would be.
Rate of fire. I didn't mention that. It wasn't rate of fire.
Rate of fire has to do with time to kill, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm
just
randomly naming stuff that could help him remind it.
It's not working.
I don't know.
Well, but even I'm sorry just to bring this up, and you're probably just making this longer, but you can't compare let's say an auto rifle an exotic. I mean, you could no matter what, but there's some auto rifles they're legendaries, and I'm pretty sure they can melt an exotic one. So it all depends. Yeah. So since you guys saying hand cannons, they're short to mid, but there's always this the case that depends what map are you going to be playing with. Unless you're really good with the weapon, let's say you playing in I don't know like a big map and you're really good with the last word. I mean, it's nothing for you, but at least I'm one of those players that actually kind of arrange or let's say do my loadout depends on what map I'm playing.
Yeah.
Well, I think you need to balance your team because there's close quartered battles inside of buildings and stuff like that, and sometimes you do need people using last words on bigger maps or shotguns on bigger maps. I'm personally one of the ones that likes to fight from a range. I don't like going up close and personal just because I get my no-nos touched all the time. So, like when it comes to the let's not talk about this. We'll talk about it off the podcast. Yes, I do like having my no-nos touched. But anyways, yeah, no, I agree with you.
I think actually
prefer
that was the
based on
third
my
point.
What,
I
getting my
literally
no-nos touched?
Yes, absolutely. No, literally, dude, like not only are you compensating for a constant time to kill, you're not only compensating for effectiveness within different ranges. So you got short range, mid range, long range, and then, the spectrum in between. But you also have to balance primaries with secondaries and with heavy weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, between secondaries, because such a discussion is happening right now amongst the competitive community and beyond about how our shotguns balanced, our snipers balanced. Well, it's only a factor because there's a general sense that special weapons are generally overpowered above primary weapons, in the sense that you'll get into engagements where you think you have the advantage, but because somebody has a shotgun, they can pull out a victory, and it's not functioning necessarily within the capacity of that archetype, because you're using your primary in its effective range, you're using it effectively, and then you get outplayed by somebody because he's using a universal remote, or because he's using a No Land Beyond, or because he's just
Definitely.
So, like, balancing primary... I apologize, it took me that long to remember my third point, but balancing primaries is such a complicated thing, and it just goes so in depth, and it's not just about primaries. It's about... You don't just balance a gun. You balance a gun within an archetype. You balance that archetype within the entire category.
The game.
Can I add something? Okay, so personally, I do believe... I'm one of the people who believe that shotguns don't need to be nerfed in any way, or snipers need to be nerfed in any way. Because quite honestly, I think that the arguments that a lot of people bring up are completely biased because they just get killed by them constantly. I happen to be one of those people who sucks going up against a shotgun. Am I going to say that the primary that I'm using should be able to take them out? Maybe sometimes, but a lot of it is skill. It's that person outplayed me. It's pure skill is what it boils down to. So I think the people who make the argument that, yeah, this shotgun shouldn't be able to kill you from this range, I'm sorry, but universal remote isn't exotic. It has a little bit better range than other shotguns. There's not a problem with that. You're playing with an Amobius, a Party Crasher, or what's the other commonly used one? I forget the name of it.
Theory or
Conspiracy Theory. Yeah, those reasonable range, and the people who outplay me with them have skill. It's not just a point and shoot. It's literally you have to aim the gun and take the initiative on killing it. I'm sorry, but there's been plenty of times where I've got a close range gun like a Last Word, or I'm even using a Mitre against somebody at short range, which is not that good. Don't suggest it. But I'm using the Last Word, and I can't take these people out. But I know if they were using the Last Word and I was more than likely using a shotgun, they would have been able to take me out because there's that skill gap. So I'm understanding of people's skill level. I think that I'm sure there's a lot of valid arguments out there for people using Party Crasher, Amobius, Universal Remote, No Land Beyond. I'm sure there's credible sources out there. But I'm sorry. A lot of them are just people they're just complaining. It's just them having that skill gap with the other player that's on the other end of the controller. I'm sorry, but that's the honest truth.
What it is they get killed, they get pissed, they complain, and they say that the gun is unbalanced and it's overpowered.
I think we're all guilty of that at some point.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We've been in those shoes before, so it's not like we're just sitting here saying, "Oh yeah, you're wrong." No, we've been there. I
understand where you're coming from, basically.
I don't rage, but I get frustrated sometimes when I'm playing a shotgun, or where I'm playing against a shotgun and that person kills me. But at the end, I understand. Wow, that player was better than me, or in that instance, they had the upper edge. It's not just about player skill. It's about where you're located on the map, who has the better skill level, who has the higher ground, who's jumping around where. There's a bunch of stuff that parallels into that, And I think to make the argument of this gun is too OP just because you got simply killed by it is not a valid argument.
Well, there's the balance between...
skill.
Yeah. I mean, there's the balance between Foeminder's Lie being able to snipe you halfway across the map.
Oh,
I have some
Can't do that.
clips from year one that are just ridiculous. But
Oh, yeah.
but I think you're right. And in fact, Holtzman from the PD podcast agrees and has commented on this several times. With shotguns, they're pretty much balanced at this point. We have a radar that some people argue is a little bit too overpowered in its ability to indicate the direction and the position of the opponent. So
It's not good
I would say
enough.
so.
it's not no,
I
it's
think
not
it is.
precise, but what it does is it alerts you to where an enemy is. So if you're using a primary
okay.
that's not a universal remote and you get a sense where somebody is, like I'm thinking with a trials mindset. So when you only have one life, I mean you can get revived, but ultimately if you die it's a 2v3 and you're putting your teammates at risk of having a harder challenge to overcome. They basically have to carry your weight. Your life matters. And when you see somebody on your radar, you have to assume they have both a sniper and a shotgun. If they have a sniper, you don't want to enter that sniping lane because they can take you out. If they have a shotgun, you don't want to push too far up because they can aggress upon you and take you out with that, close range kill. So what you do is you use your primary and you create an engagement where you have the advantage because they can either, if they're sniping, they're going to sit back. They're not going to be able to reach you because you're not peeking in the lane. If they have a shotgun, they're not going to be able to kill you because they have to present a target first and you can use your primary to pick them off. So I agree with you. It's a skill thing. Some people argue that primaries need to be a bit more powerful. I'd say if they do, it needs to be a very minute change, like very minuscule.
Minute, yeah.
I might just add.
I'm sorry, but 4 headshots with the might is already enough.
oh yeah.
I might add. A
The
good way to
Horrifying that thing
counter.
is beautiful.
What's up, Greg?
A good way to counter a shotgun is to pull them in close to you, and how you do that is you let your teammate die, and AP knows what I'm talking about. I did this to him earlier. And you let them go in and basically you res your teammate, and when they go in to get the shotgun kill, you just peek out and shotgun them. I used Gabe as bait earlier, and he was this guy that me and AP were playing with.
Yeah, who is Gabe? He sounds cool. I don't know
And
if I
I
was
kept
playing with
using him as bait, and I would
Who's
use
that
him,
guy?
and I would res him, and I would use him to get the killing blow and win the round. So it's an
And-
effective strategy.
If you
And
like
my-
that humble brag, please leave a like on this video.
And my strat against snipers is usually when I'm a big Mida user or a big scout rifle user because I've been switching in between Call of Vance's duty and
I was just about
Mida.
to point
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah,
Call of Vance's duty.
it is amazing. 3 shots to the head, boom, they're down. But essentially, my strat against snipers is moving a lot, strafing side to side, back to back, shade stepping when I need to. My most common one recently is I'll pop. I know snipers like to keep their eye on the spot that they think that person's going to pop out of. So what I'll do is I know they're going to stay there, so I just keep popping out from the side, popping back in, popping out from another end of the side, like a little bit farther back or something like that, because they're assuming me coming back in the same place, and I'll just keep popping them in the head or the body shots, and eventually I just get them. Either that, or if I know I can beat them because they've missed like 3 shots already, I'll just strafe from side to side and just shoot them and just hope they don't get the headshot.
Yeah,
Works pretty well so far. I know it's not the best strat. It's
No.
unorthodox.
It's a
Don't pop
great
up in the same
strategy.
place twice. Good.
It's a great strategy. The problem is, and the reason that we're talking about this, the reason we're talking about balance is not day-to-day gameplay. And the reason I bring up
No, I
Trials
know.
is because the arguments
And we
are
move
not
on to
from
balance.
a casual level. Because the thing is, when you're playing casually, if you're playing the Crucible in general, if you're playing Trials against like lower skilled opponents, you won't you can make mistakes and you won't get punished for them. You can peek out into a sniping lane and not immediately get popped in the head. You can maybe land some shots. You can even get the kill against a sniper. But the thing is, when you have top tier players where they're not just keeping their scope hard scoped on where they think your head's going to be, but they have those lanes locked down where if you peek out, you are dead. And if you peek out in an unorthodox spot, they can quickly adapt. If you just watch KJ Hovey highlights, you watch him snipe, it doesn't matter if you're in an unorthodox spot. You peek into a sniping lane where his no land beyond or his longbow is like in his hand, you're dead.
It's a wrap.
You're dead.
Can I add something? Just as I think I know what people want, they want the ability to just be handed the skill level of KJ Hovey with the guns.
No.
Yeah.
That's
what
not the
some
point.
people want.
So that's
No,
what
no, no.
people
No,
want.
it's true. That's what some people want.
Yes, that's what
it's
some people want. That's not
it's
the
the
argument,
fact-
But a lot of
No,
people-
I know it's
a lot
not the argument. I'm just adding this. Is I think a lot of the complaints from people are they want to be at KJ Hovey's level where they just want to be handed it. But the fact is I'm not near as close as good as KJ Hovey. I don't think I will ever be as close as KJ Hovey. I don't want to be handed the skill level of KJ Hovey. I want to be able to learn that skill level. I want to be able to grasp my own skill level and have my own skill that can maybe counter his. I don't want to have the same level. I don't want to have an advantage over,
Dude,
or not even an
you.
advantage, but be just like him.
I think everyone.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I think everyone has their own play style. I mean,
Yeah.
when you, it's basically the same thing. When you adapt to whatever, layout you have and that match, could be size, could be like how many spots that you have like to peak or anything like that. But I was one of those players that I used to get frustrated when I used to play the Crucible, just the Crucible alone, not even going hard on trials, because I used to play a lot of PvP in year one, PvE. I'm sorry, but when you recently when you just getting into the Crucible, it's a different skill that you have to learn, and I was one of them that I used to say, oh my God, this weapon is so OP. But when you master the weapon, it's a different story. That you just be melting people left and right, and I think balancing, it's a bit complicated, but I think there's not a lot too much to do to the weapons, but there could be like a little bit of improvement. I think
It could be our. Oh, go on, AP.
I'm sorry. I normally let you go, but I wanted to make this
No,
point.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think snipers are a high skill weapon. I think shotguns get the rap of being a low skill weapon, but honestly, like, if you position properly, that's part of the skill. It can be an effective weapon. The reason that the Mida was so beloved in year one is not just because it's like not even an overpowered weapon. It's just very well rounded. But the point is, when it still had the secret perk of high caliber rounds, you could challenge snipers. And you made their job harder because as soon as you landed the first shot and subsequent shots, you're staggering their aim and made it harder for them just to sit and camp and to land those shots even as they're being fired upon. And that made the Mida a balanced primary weapon against special weapons. And I think the reason that people are clamoring for an adjustment to primaries to make them a little bit more powerful isn't that they need to do more damage or they need to become more powerful than special weapons. But the thing is, sniping is a unique skill. Shotgun is another skill. And if primary weapons can disrupt their ability to be effective with proper planning and good positioning, just like special weapons are effective because of your positioning and planning and gun skill, they'd be better. If Mida still had high caliber rounds, I'd say like if everyone was using Mida as a primary and everyone else is using a sniper and or a shotgun, just or a shotgun, then it would be pretty balanced because Midas could disrupt a sniper's ability with good skill and good positioning, and you could also take on a shotgunner as he charged you. That'd be fine. The thing is, other primaries are not as effective necessarily in every situation, and they took away high caliber rounds from Midas, so it can't do that anymore. So you have, I have clips of like I am getting hit. I'm down to a red bar, but I had the time from full health to getting pummeled down to whip my scope up and around and land down on their head and get a sniper shot. It should not be that way. And I think people are concerned that primaries they don't need to be more effective than special weapons, but they shouldn't be negated because of the effectiveness of the special weapon. So I think that's why people want them to be brought up a little bit. Not in power necessarily, but in the ability to disrupt the effectiveness of the special weapons if the positioning and the gun skill is adequate.
Let me add something.
Thank you. I think actually AP got my point. There we go.
Now I understand it. I think don't reply to this one, but I think AP, a fourth point to add to your chart would absolutely have to be adaptability. That would have to be a fourth one. And no need to reply to that one. I just want to say that should be a fourth one added.
So let me
It's
reply
about
to that.
adapting.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I wanted to say one more thing. And then I think we've pretty much covered this topic. But an
Yeah,
idea that could maybe fix it is perhaps maybe when you're shooting a primary at somebody and they have a special weapon equipped, maybe it causes them flinch just by default.
Well, it does. Flinch is inherent. I think you mean more flinch, like
not a lot, because I'm just saying I've gotten a dude I've consistently landed. For example, my home jury, I land 3 of the 4 headshots. He's about to die, pulls out his sniper as I'm killing him and gets it, just a quick scope on me, and that happens to me way too many times. And it's like I'm clearly not flinching you at all, is what it feels like. And I feel like maybe just add a high caliber rounds to all primaries when they're shooting at people who have special weapons equipped. Maybe something like that. So it you know what, something like that. That's just an idea.
You know, a great combo that I use. It's kind of like try hard to me because it's really, really effective. Use Call of Duty's Duty and use the iron what is it called, raft? Iron Reef. Yeah, I always get it wrong. But that is a dangerous combo. Your Call of Duty is for range, and when you see people just rushing against you, that sidearm, it's OP.
If you get high caliber on any sidearm, in my opinion, like the new Monarchy sidearm,
yeah,
I've never once seen it roll without high caliber rounds. If you get a good roll, that thing is deadly because you're firing really fast, and every time you hit them, they're flinching.
Definitely.
High caliber rounds is an amazing perk on sidearms, and people say it sucks. And I'm like, really? I think it's an amazing perk.
Dude,
I was like flinching any day. There's not enough flinching in the game, so
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had a very good conversation.
Yeah, we
about
covered
weapon balancing in PvP.
No,
AP,
let's
do you have
talk about
anything
this
you
for
wanna
45 more minutes. No,
jeez.
No, the last comment is especially so we've talked about snipers a bit, and a little bit more flinch from primaries I think would benefit the game. But in terms of against shotgunners, to Mr. Chaos's point, my goodness, especially if you're on a hunter with Bones of AO, you throw the Bones of AO with a sidearm against a shotgunner, you just backpedal and do that double control jump backwards and just pummel them with the sidearm. Shotgunners have no hope. Like there is
especially
a
with a smoke nade.
Rip.
That word
smoke
though.
nade in there,
Dollar the
it
swear jar.
amplifies it.
All right, now as Groot is edging towards, we have gone on a very long tangent, and I love it, and it's been a good talk.
I love it too.
I'd say there's probably one more thing we want to talk about before we wrap it up for tonight, and that's the fact that Bungie, with their 600-member staff, they have finally started to adapt, and they did something that's very important, and they split up their team into 3 specific departments. Now this is actually pretty huge. So rather than operating as one cohesive team, all doing the same thing and just kind of disorganized and trying to produce content, they've got 3 separate departments. Now,
and that is
designated to designated to what?
So so the first one, they've got the future iterations of the game. Now you got Destiny 2 and beyond. That's the main focus of this. Luke Smith, the boss.
Luke Smith!
The boss.
Freaking love Luke Smith, man. Everything that he has
too.
touched, like he is not a solo warrior. Like he is one man who has taken leadership roles and used the resources at Bungie to produce phenomenal stuff. Back in Vanilla, he was in charge of the Vault of Glass, produced, in my opinion, the best raid Destiny's ever produced.
Definitely.
It's how we know it, because we don't know we're at the machines yet.
That's true. And don't want to go on a tangent about this, but King's Fall is the most mechanically advanced, and I think that mechanically it trumps every other raid, but in terms of replayability and the magic of the experience, the Vault of Glass is unparalleled. It has not been beaten.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
So I think it might have been Greg that mentioned this to me the other day. Greg, did you mention to me at some point, because this is related to the future, that they were thinking, or there was confirmation or some kind of background story going on right now, or a rumor, that they were encompassing the older raids to current content somehow in Destiny 2 or Rise of Iron?
I was talking about this.
Okay.
But in the podcast, the 1 hour little thing they did, they were like, will the raids come back at some point? And they were like before Destiny 2 maybe, or in Destiny 2, and it seemed like there was some heavy hinting towards it. They said, we can't say with smirks on their face, like they were hinting like something like that was going to happen. And I was just like, oh boy, I'm hyped. Like, because just the way they said it, it was like, I got the feeling we're going to see that hopefully later on down the road before Destiny 2.
Well, hopefully we get some kind of emulation thing that AP was speculating on.
Emulation?
Yeah.
Emulation, remember the computer emulated versions of the raids?
Oh yes.
I mean, I see that, but at the same time, I'm like, you could just up it and just say because we want to up it.
In whatever iteration, I'd be stoked to see it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Really excited, but that'd be really cool.
So
can I add something just real quick? I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
One thing that I will definitely would like to see in Destiny 2, and I'm looking forward to it. Look how many planets do we have basically on the destination, you know, when let's say you just planning to go somewhere, whatever. But I would definitely like to see like not only like 4 or 5 type of enemies. I would like to see, I know one new basically enemy is coming, but I would like to see like even more. Like like something different, you know?
Well, like we know that there's many more races in the Destiny universe, especially thanks to the Books of Sorrow.
Yeah.
We know about a lot of them. Granted, the ones that they talk about are wiped out by the Hive, so they're kind of dead now, so they aren't exactly going to have a place in the future. But we know there are more species. For example, Bungie gave a specific number of species that there were on the Fundament planet in the Books of Sorrow. It's like 501 or something like that.
Oh, damn.
And so, yeah, we know there's a lot more species in this game, and we could, you know, so, yeah. Although in Destiny 2, I'm really hoping that it's Cabal themed because they've hinted towards Cabal stuff based on a lot of missions. So that's what
Mikey, let me just add to this for you, okay? In terms of the lore in Chaos, I'm sorry. Chaos. Let me just add this. When the Hive's ship or their moon or planet, whatever, crash into the Fundament. The Fundament was known to have more than 1 million species of different creatures on it. Let's just put it that way. Inside of the above the Fundament ocean, with it had 5 different continents or something like that.
Yeah, and the reason that is because, well, this is even more lore. The worms inside the planet, Books of Sorrow,
gravitating everyone,
gravitating all the species because they wanted to get free.
Yep.
And I mean, definitely. Also, AP always mentions it. Gru mentions it, and I started recently listening to them, and I started thinking about lore in a new way. Look up the ghost stories, listen to them.
I mean, yeah, I actually started getting into it, and it's amazing how, from like, if you just an average player, and if you just listen to the lore and everything that ties all the story, it's just amazing how much information is behind the game.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really looking forward, to Destiny 2.
Well, what I would do is, by the way, the first thing I did is I went in, because Books of Sorrow are my favorite. Also, I really love Toland. Bad Juju was my first exotic quest item that I got. And so it was really cool because I went and listened to all their Books of Sorrow parts immediately because that's my favorite part. And then I looked if they had anything on Toland, and they had like a whisper on Toland, and that was really cool. And they talk about how he's actually there in the King's Hall raid. And that's what that orb is potentially, is that's actually Toland leading you around. There's a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, I'm actually glad I started listening to them.
I love Toland. I want to learn more.
I mean, I'd read all the Grimoire, but listening to them is actually really exciting. And so yeah.
So I had 3 points I was going to mention. I got to one of them.
You already mentioned 3 points.
No.
Sorry.
Another 3. Those are another 3.
I know.
Talking about the 3. Okay, I don't mean to bojangle the conversation, but we're about to wrap up. We got to finish up. So the last thing that we're talking about, we got the 3 divisions of Bungie. One is the future iterations of the game, Destiny 2 and beyond, and there's going to be so much conversation talking about that just because we all love the game. There's so much to talk about, and as new stuff comes out, we're going to keep talking about it. However, there's 2 other departments of Bungie as they split up now with their 600-member staff plus. So we got the future iterations of the game. Then they've got the live team. Now, recently, we've associated the live team with things like SRL and the April update and, all the other events that have spawned in between. The live team is actually much larger now because, just so you know, the Rise of Iron is technically under the constitution of the live team, because it's affecting the live game, the game that we have now in Destiny 1.0 and beyond. So Rise of Iron is from the live team. The live team is bigger, and they're working more on making the game more playable. So we've got a huge team from Bungie working on Destiny 2, plus they're working with another developer to make Destiny 2. We've got a larger live team producing the Rise of Iron and other continuation content. And then we mentioned a bit about their engine and how their engine, I don't want to say sucked, but had some fundamental flaws and things that needed to be revamped and recoded and reworked to make it able to keep up with game development to the scale and standard that we have come to expect from Bungie from year one, with multiple content releases and with what they've advertised. So the third department is they have a larger team reworking the code, the net code, as Tefty constantly refers to in the Planet Destiny podcast. So they're actually reworking and redeveloping their fundamental code for how they can design the game from a development standpoint, which is huge for the potential future of the game. Because if they had the same engine and then they had to produce the next 8 years of Destiny from that same engine, they've managed to catch up a little bit, but they still have so much going against them. But if they can redesign the engine so they can develop faster and create content more efficiently, think of how much more content we can get in between content drops, how much more content's going to be in the content drops. It's going to revolutionize the game.
I think in Destiny 2, they're definitely going to hopefully have a new engine, is the hope. So.
Well, they're currently developing Destiny 2. They've been developing it since, I think, at
Fair
least
point.
when Destiny 1 launched, if not before. But the point is the content development's going to accelerate if they use this team effectively to revamp the engine, and that's just dandy. That's just peachy.
Oh, yeah.
We might be seeing more than we ever have before once Destiny 2 comes.
Oh, yeah, dude.
If they succeed, which I'm sure they will.
I mean, it's Bungie, so, you know.
It is Bungie, so
That's
we
the
don't
dream,
know.
man. They've been playing catch up for a long time.
And I would like to say one more thing about Bungie, is they've made a lot of improvements, and they really do listen to us. And the one thing that I hate to see is every time I go online is that people hate on them for things like microtransactions. I know this is like completely unrelated, but at the same time, it's like Bungie's a great company. They're doing what we can. We just talked about how they split their team up to try and make the game better, how they're working on the engine, and Bungie gets way too much hate, and for a lot of the stuff that goes on with exclusives, various other things. When in reality, it's I just wanna
Server
say
issues.
Activision.
That's one of the big ones.
I was gonna say also there's a lot of stuff going on with Activision, and people blame Bungie, and I just wanted to say that they don't deserve all that.
Yeah, and that too. Like I respect, I really the people who I respect even the most. I mean, I respect their whole company, but the people that I respect sometimes the most is Deej and Cosmo, because they're the deliverers of the bad news. You know, they're the face, and they're the ones who ultimately in the end get blamed for everything because they're the ones who said it.
Hate.
They do, but honestly, I have we run a community here. I know what it's like to take hate. I know what it's like to get bashed. I know what it's like to also get praised, and I gotta tell you, there's no gaming community out there better than Destiny's, because quite honestly, the two community leaders, the two guys who communicate everything, do such a great job of it. They're so involved with the community. It is inspiring.
I mean, it's like at 548,000 now that the Destiny community raised for St. Jude. So we are definitely hands down the greatest gaming community, I'd say.
It is.
I mean, there's probably arguments, but I don't think so.
And we are, and just the fact of what Cosmo and Deej and all of Bungie does for everybody, for the gamers, for charities, it's truly inspiring, and I just wish there were more gaming companies out there like that. Needless to say, I'm sure there are. Can't really think of any at the top of my head, but Bungie just does an amazing job, and they've developed a game. I mean, we all met because of Destiny. This game has ultimately changed everybody's life who has played it, has connected people in a unique way, and has
I mean,
helped
yeah.
people make friends in no other way. That people but yeah.
I made a lifelong friend from Destiny, and so.
Yeah, I made lifelong friends.
Well, I mean, yeah, all you guys now, but I'm saying, first day of Destiny, doing the Nexus strike. Me and my buddy Maximus, we run into Chimmy. Hated the guy at first, but a couple of weeks later, we just clicked, and I've been buddies with him ever since. And he's a really cool guy, and Destiny community is great.
Yeah,
and it connects so many people.
Yeah,
I do want to add something. Obviously, I'm pretty new to this community, and I'm proud of it. But I do wish I would have met you guys even before.
Oh, you definitely did.
Oh, me too, man. But I'm happy you're here now. That's what matters.
Oh no, trust me. I mean, what matters? It's they will get along. We have fun with the game, and like you guys just said, they have improved a lot. It's a learning process for them and for us.
Yeah, and
Destiny is just a great community, man.
I know we have to wrap it up in a few, but I just want to add, and Bungie's even making an advance towards the whole friend thing too, and helping people connect. Yeah. From what I've heard, and it's rumored, and it's almost been confirmed identically, or apparently, that they're adding an LFG system built into the game because of Microsoft is adding their LFG thing into their hub. So it looks like Bungie's adding their own thing. It's not confirmed. Don't take my word for it. But if they're actually doing that, that's another way that they're stepping towards that.
And not to mention, they're also adding the clan rosters. They're actually the update I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
This Thursday, the 8th, we're getting the update.
It's going to be 8 hours offline.
Yeah, 8 hours. But they're adding clan rosters to the game. We're going to be able to see our clans in game, manage them, and they're adding some stuff that have only been on the app and the website into the game now, and that's steps in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful.
I'm really excited.
And on that bombshell, I have to use that reference because I've been watching a lot of Top Gear lately. But this has been the 24th episode of the Super Fun Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been listening, check us out at our website, thesuperfunpeople.com. Check out our Facebook page, which if you just search for the Super Fun People, you'll find us. And hit us up on Twitter at superfunpeople. If you have any questions for us to talk about on the podcast, we'll definitely consider those. And that's the best way.
Don't forget about podcast.thesuperfunpeople.com.
Yeah, and also I was gonna say, did we actually ever introduce ourselves? Who was on the podcast this week?
No.
I mean, I'm sure we know, but at this point, I'm just saying we didn't do it.
Yeah, it's all good.
All good. They know who we are by now.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.